In this episode, I'll be giving my reaction and review to the 2017 film Good Time. So let's have a good time and review this movie. Here we go. Do something, man. People are questioning you. Shut up. Shut up. Okay, yep, do that. Sure, guys. Stupid and dumb. Just an idiot. Get your shit together, son. Fuck it. I loved it. Welcome to the Dub Cast. Good Time is a movie that has been on my list for a decent amount of time. I think a friend recommended this to me at the end of 2023. So here we are, 2.5 years later. You guys know, if you've been keeping up with the channel at all, I've got about 120 movies on my movie list at this point. I've conceded to the fact that I'll never catch up, but nonetheless, this was an interesting watch for sure. I have the Sadfi brothers. Sadfi, I don't know how you pronounce their names, I'm sorry. Obviously, Uncut Gems, one of the crazier movies. I remember watching that in 2020. Insane pacing. Adam Sandler in a serious movie. Was very impressed with that movie. I think Adam Sandler's a great actor, but it doesn't seem like he flourishes in those serious roles. So this was an interesting one to jump into. Obviously, the recent success of Marty Supreme recently as well, which one of the people I was watching this movie with had also seen Marty Supreme, and this was kind of similar to that. So I think I'm getting an understanding for the style of the Sadfi brothers, and I think I like it. That sort of intensity, the high pacing. I think it really makes for a compelling movie. And Good Time was a movie that doesn't really give you the chance to even look away at any point. You're locked in and you are waiting and waiting to see what will happen and how will this character of Robert Pattinson continue to just screw things up. That's all I could think about for the duration of the movie, was just Robert Pattinson ruining all these people's lives as he goes along. And it's a fascinating tale because he's just trying to do what he thinks is best for his brother, although he's mainly misplaced in that thought. I don't know if you'd describe him as an anti-hero or a just a straight up antagonist. Depends on how you look at it, I guess. But I liked the soundtrack of this as well. The music, there's some really cool camera shots. The car shots, especially, were nice, and definitely some nice. I think this is supposed to be in New York City. It might be in a different city, but I think this was really well shot, and I think I got to check out more of these brothers movies. I definitely want to see Marty Supreme. I know that was like one of the big movies of 2025. I hit my 12 movie quota in theaters for 2025. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that goal again for 2026, but Marty Supreme, I definitely want to check that one out. And this has a clean runtime of an hour and 41 minutes. Good time. It felt a little bit even longer. Like it's kind of that. I think that's kind of a perfect pace for this movie where it's so in your face and everything's just so fast moving. There's barely any downtime. So I liked the pacing of this movie. I will say the one thing that jumped out to me was just the police officers, which we'll talk about the police officers in this movie and how they are able to operate in certain capacities but not operate in other capacities. I think some of the while this movie is great because you're locked in, it's one of those movies that's kind of unrealistic at points and some parts that are just straight up weird, which I'm not sure if we'll even talk about that. But overall, I thought this was a pretty decent watch, and I'm interested to watch Marty Supreme and other movies from these brothers, and obviously Robert Pattinson, steal of the show. He was on a generational run, I think, like 2 years ago, and he's coming back to do Batman 2 and Dune 3. I don't know. I think Batman 2 is not coming out this year, next year, but I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot of our Robert Pattinson. This is actually the first Robert Pattinson movie we reviewed on the channel. So, with that, let's dive into my thoughts and reactions throughout the movie, which will contain spoilers for the movie if you want to drop off here, which this movie came out 7 years ago, or 9 years ago. So, sorry if I'm spoiling it for you, but here we go. We start this movie off, and I always love to talk about the beginning of the movie. We meet Benny Sadfi. I feel like I have to be pronouncing that name wrong. Benny Sadfi's character of Nick, and he is in therapy. And this is kind of a bit of a odd beginning where you can tell, clearly Nick's a little bit intellectually challenged as this therapist is kind of asking him these like basic questions. And I don't remember like the actual point of those questions. I think it was to just try and get a reaction out of him, and obviously something had happened with his family or something, because you can just tell from the dynamics of the way the conversation's going, where the therapist is trying to lead it one way and Nick's not really giving into that at all. And nonetheless, that all stops because his brother Connie, who's Robert Pattinson's character, comes in, basically takes him out right away, seemingly from when he found out that he was going to be in therapy. And I think one of the bigger themes of this movie is that Connie just is not able to accept that his brother may need help from these sort of resources. I think he thinks of him as his equal intellectually. We see that in the short conversations they do have, and I think that kind of harms his relationship with him almost because he gets him in trouble and he expects more of him when he's not able to provide more. It's a hard back and forth there, and I like this opening scene because it kind of gives you off that looking back on it as it just when you're watching it it's whatever, but looking back on this one it kind of sets the dynamic for their relationship throughout the movie. And after this scene we're thrust right into it where they go to commit a bank robbery, which I know this is 9 years ago, but that felt like a very unrealistic bank robbery where they're just in these like old people masks almost, where they like age themselves to probably to just look like these, well, not probably to look like these older men, and they just hand the teller a note that says give us all the money in the thing. She gives them back like a couple thou, and they're like, we want more because we know you have more. Well, it's really just Connie doing all of this because Nick is not really able to contribute. Connie's handing him the note. He's like, go get more. So she goes into the back room, which I thought for sure that would be an obvious call the cops situation, which she might have even called the cops, but they got out of it. But she actually did give them the money. So they're in a car now with the driver. They've got the money. He goes to open the bag and it's red paint all over it. Red paint dust. I'm not sure what that's specifically called, powder. It's all over their clothes, all over everything, and that makes them obviously stick out as the robbers if they were to ever be caught by police. Luckily, luckily, they're able to get into a Domino's bathroom where Connie tries to wash him down as best he can, change clothes, and the plan kind of goes to shit because the driver had crashed when the red paint exploded everywhere, obviously. And in the Domino's bathroom to change clothes, come out, they're just walking in the street. This is one of the parts I didn't like with the police officer. Nick has like a little ass stain on his sweatshirt. Well, I guess it's sort of supposed to make sense, but they're just walking in a city casually, and the cop like pulls up next to him and just starts talking to him for like 5 minutes. Like, I don't think they would have seen him that little stain on his thing. Luckily for them, Nick kind of tweaks out and just runs away instantly, so they know that they have the right guys. I don't know. I thought that part was pretty unrealistic of them just randomly finding them on the street like 10 minutes after the robbery had been committed. Nonetheless, Nick gets separated from Connie. Obviously, Connie's a little bit faster, and Nick like runs through a screen door, a glass door, and is picked up by the police. He's taken to jail while Connie is trying to figure out how to a way for him to get out of jail, to get him out of jail, which is kind of the whole premise of the movie. He goes to his friend Corey, who's played by the wonderful Jennifer Jason Leigh. Lee, I don't know how you pronounce her last name. I'm really bad at pronouncing last names in this one here, but she's kind of just like a shithead. Basically, lives with her mom, doesn't really know what's going on, and this kind of just feeds into the whole dynamic of the movie of Connie being this person who's kind of just leeching off of others and using them and kind of ruining people's lives. Where he tries to get Corey to pay 10 grand to get his brother out of jail on bond, and she's going to do it for him, but the mother had canceled the credit card because it seems like something like this had happened in the past where he made her do all these things because the mother's like super irate when he enters her apartment at first. So that's scheme number one, already ruining Corey's shit. Could have potentially had her out 10K. I don't know how a bond bail works. Maybe someone down below in the comments can let me know how that works. I don't know if he would have got the money back, but that seems like 10K poof, as I like to say. That's person number one that Connie just screws with is Corey. Continuing on through the phone call with the bail bond people, he figures out that Nick is at a hospital because we saw Nick get into a fight at the prison over the TV, which is actually not too uncommon from what I've actually heard about prison, just from real life stuff. I've never been to prison, guys, don't worry. Him at the hospital, and you can see, I do like how he's just a pure schemer, and he's able to run all these maneuvers at the hospital to get the guy to tell him what's going on in there. He sees who he thinks is Nick with a handcuff on the bed, waits in another patient's room, gives her like a drink of orange juice, and then takes a sip of his own. So I think we're ultimately meant to. I think he's more of an anti-hero because I think we're meant to believe that there is good in him and he's trying to do the good in things, but he's not perfect, and he has this like blind spot where he kind of goes into his own mode just to do whatever is best for him and be selfish. At least that was my perspective on the character. Anyways, he is able to wheel who he thinks is Nick out on a wheelchair onto this bus, and on that bus he's able to get to this other woman's house who's also on that bus, and basically have her offer to let him stay inside, once again capitalizing on other people. And I thought that was pretty crazy that she would just let him stay there, especially since it was him and his brother and they had no idea who each other were. But nonetheless, there's also a 16-year-old girl, her daughter, there in the house. Yeah, this got weird really fast where his mugshot comes up on the TV, and in order for him to distract the girl from seeing him on the TV and knowing he's a criminal, he kisses her, which there's got to be at least like a 10-year age difference there. I don't need to get into all that. It's just creepy, and that is when you kind of lose really any respect for the character, and he just becomes kind of an antagonist asshole throughout the rest of the movie. It's like, really, dude, that grossed me out. That was like an audible like, oh, gross. Yeah, so the girl doesn't know all this. She's like now in love with him and just goes with him everywhere. And we find out that the person that he'd actually pulled from the hospital is not his brother. It was this other guy named Ray, who's this. Ray was a good character because he's just psychotic and always blabbing. He was a yapper for sure, and he is involved in this acid LSD business where they hid drugs at the Adventureland, which rings home to me because there's a thing called Adventureland near my house. But I don't know. I thought the twist of him being Ray, not Nick, was decent. And you think how could he possibly get Nick out that fast? There's got to be something going on here. So decent twist there. And once Ray is retelling the story of what happened at Adventureland, Connie realizes I got to go there, get the LSD. That can be my bond money to get him out, to get Nick out. All he's thinking about is himself and how to get Nick out. And so this got crazy when they're at this like adventure park, and it's at night. There's a security guard, which I'm not sure if there would be a security guard. I guess in like New York City or Chicago or wherever this is supposed to be, there probably would be a security guard. But this poor guy, he finds Ray and Connie doing suspect shit in one of the rides where they think the LSD is, and he gets beaten up and poured LSD down his throat, like freaking so much LSD. The dude wakes up and doesn't even freaking know where he is or how to speak English anymore. And they basically just take his identity, go into his house, take his security guard uniform. Um, and while this is happening, the girl is walking around because she gets out of her car because she hears a shot or something, or hears the police, and then she gets arrested. So there's another person whose life has been ruined. I think probably the worst of everyone else. Arrested under 18, was like basically um, hit on by like a guy who's way like a very creepy situation. So I think that girl got it the worst. Well, maybe Ray. We'll talk about Ray at the end, but I don't know. Probably the girl because she still has to live. Anyways, poor guy, the security guard. They get his keys. They go to his house. They start chilling there, and it's only a little bit of time between these two criminals, Ray and Connie, before they crash out at each other. The crash out competition, as I called it, in this man's apartment, and it ends with Ray and his boy wanting Connie to give up the drugs. Connie's in the room with a dog who's ferocious and could kill. But no, Connie's able to run out of the apartment as the dog bites Ray, and Ray watches from the balcony, sees what happened. I guess we're supposed to meant to we're supposed to have assumed that this neighbor who had ran out in the hallway and seen them called the cops. So the cops are already swarming the building. Connie runs right into the cops and is arrested. That's it. You can kind of see it all. One of the better scenes probably is him going into the car, kind of realizing what's going on, what he all did. Like he doesn't fight back. He knows what he's done is wrong. So I think there is like that redeeming quality almost of Connie's character of like he just is trying to do the best for his brother, but he doesn't really realize like how much he's affecting other people's lives. Obviously, he's a piece of shit throughout the movie, and he's gonna go to jail for a long time. While he's in the back of the police car, he looks up and sees Ray, on the like balcony of the building trying to escape the police because he doesn't want to go back. He's on 24-hour parole or something, and he falls to his death. So there's another person that has really lost a lot in their life due to Connie's contributions that night. So you have Ray dead, security guard goes on a crazy acid trip where he can't even speak English. Hopefully he's doing all right. The girl arrested. The mother of the girl is now doesn't know her has an arrested daughter and like let these people into her house. Um, Corey in trouble with her mom and now has this person going to jail. So yeah, just so many lives ruined throughout the movie. I think that was they did a really good job of like making you hate him and also seeing like why he's doing this and maybe even having a little bit of understanding of why he's doing it. He's just going about it the wrong way. So that wraps up that story. Connie's headed to jail. We do wrap up the movie with Nick, who's now entered into the group therapy at peace with his grandmother. His grandmother brings him there, which was nice to see. Obviously, there was like this scene of the grandmother calling for them on national TV to come back home, and that Connie's a piece of shit. So now the therapist brings Nick to this room. He says both you and your brother are in the right place. So Nick is going to be able to probably get out of jail, or probably got out of jail due to his brother admitting everything, which makes sense. And Connie's going to do the time for what he did in jail, where he deserves to be. So overall, I think a happy ending because everyone got what they deserve. At least the two brothers. Nick got to be in a space where he's able to meet people more his speed, and Connie is in jail serving time for what he did. And one of the more tragic scenes is Nick doesn't move. They play this game called Cross the Room, and it's like cross the room if you've like candy, cross the room if you have like if you like your name or something. And then he doesn't cross the room until they say like if your family member has lied to you or if you've been blamed for something else that someone did, then he starts crossing the room. So it's like a bunch of sad stuff to end this movie out. I gave this movie a 7.6. I thought it was a decent time. Not a not a good time. No, it was a good time, but also a bad time because of what's going on in the movie. But I thought the way that they kind of portrayed this Connie character was fascinating. I liked the movie. I liked the pacing. It's just this movie has a type of limit on me when we're jumping all around and kind of getting into unrealistic police stuff, and I don't know, not my favorite thing to watch overall, but it was compelling enough. We're going with a 7.6. Good performances out of Robert Pattinson, Benny Sadfi, and the rest of the crew. Where does this 7.6 compare with the other movies we reviewed so far on the Dubcast? This is movie number 90 so far, and this comes in at an even number 50. So we do have a bunch of other 7.6s. We have The Little Things, The Fantastic Four, First Steps, Backdraft, The Hunt for Red October, and Molly's Game. I would take this movie slightly over all of them except for The Little Things. So there's all your 7.6s. This falls behind The Hateful Eight, which was a 9.0, and beats out Backdraft, which is a 7.6. Obviously, very close. They're both 7.6s. So this is the now second of three Jennifer Jason Lee or Leigh movies. So middle of her so far on the channel, and this falls behind Blade Runner 2049, which was a 7.9. That is a Barkhad Abdi movie, just like this one. So this is the lowest ranking of his so far on the channel. Crime thrillers. This is our third official crime thriller movie. Unfortunately, is the lowest ranked of the three, falling behind Training Day, which I gave a 9.1, and The Guilty, which I gave a 7.7. So that wraps up this review of Good Time 2017. What did you guys think of Good Time? Am I too high? Am I too low on it? Were you as jarred as I was at points? And what is your opinion on Connie, the main character? I'd like to hear your thoughts down below. We can have a nice chat in the comments. This is the last movie review scheduled at the moment, but we do have more content coming in the future. NFL streams have wrapped up, but we're here every week for UFC, NBA playoffs wrap coming up soon, March Madness coming soon as well. So expect that for sports. In terms of TV, we've shifted that to a more short term or short form. I keep saying short term, short form content. Stay tuned for on TikTok, Instagram, and for like tier list videos of characters and seasons, stuff like that. In terms of TV, Survivor 50 as well. That'll be the one show we actually dive in episode by episode. Hopefully, I'll get some guests for that. And besides that, we've been sitting down with some guests to just have some random conversations. So, off the deep end with Dub, expect to see more of those episodes coming out soon as well. Those will just be titled by the episode number, and who knows what we get into in those type of episodes. So, would love to have you stick along. Make sure to subscribe, like, dislike, comment, follow on social media, shit on all my stuff if you want to. No, I'm just kidding. But I do appreciate constructive criticism. I want to do more of what you guys want to see. So let me know down below in the comments if there's any improvements or anything you want to see me do in the near future. I'll leave you out with that. And as always, be easy, y'all.